Our meeting will come to order on this 9th day of March, and this is unofficial. We do not have a quorum yet, but we're going to begin our business of the day. Welcome Chair Loon to the testifying table. We'll begin hearing members House File 2259, and then when I have a quorum, I'll officially call the meeting to order. But in the meantime, Representative Loon will explain her bill. So welcome, Representative Loon. I will move unofficially House File 2259 to be before us, and when we have a quorum, I'll officially move it. Good to have you here again.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good to be back, and appreciate you all taking time to hear about a bill that I'm really pleased to be offering. House File 1958, overall goal is to try to better coordinate our investments in early childhood education. And this is something that I feel very passionate about. I've been working on trying to establish scholarships and other streams of funding to make sure that we're providing a good start to those children who are maybe born in disadvantaged circumstances and fall into the achievement or the opportunity gap. And
Excuse me, Chair Loon, I'm going to call the meeting officially to order. Representative Haley moves the minutes from March 7. Are there any additions or corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The motion prevails and the minutes are approved. Members, we are hearing House File 2259 this morning before we hear the Policy Bill 1376. And so with that, I will officially move House File 2259 to be re-referred to the Committee on Education Finance. Welcome again, Representative Loon. Why don't you say your name for the record so that we're official again?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jennifer Loon, and State Representative from Eden Prairie.
And please proceed.
Thank you very much. Members, as I was saying, I'm really pleased to be offering this bill, House File 2259. I have been long a passionate supporter of early childhood education, especially as a tool to close the achievement gap. If we can reach children early who need that extra help and support to make sure that they enter kindergarten ready to learn and on par with their peers, we do much to stem increased costs in special education. We increase their chances of successfully reading by 3rd grade and then graduating from high school and getting off to the best start possible in life.
Representative Loon, should we entertain your A2 amendment at this point?
Yes, Madam Chair, I think that would probably be best, and then we can just do a walkthrough of the bill with the changes of the
Very
amendment.
Good. The chair moves H2259A2 amendment to House File 2259. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The motion prevails, and we have adopted the A2 amendment to put the bill in the order that Representative Loon prefers. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. So very briefly, what the bill proposes to do, and I think this is sort of a necessary step and an important one, because as we are fortunate enough to have invested significant sums in early childhood education, about $400 million a year across various programs, we now really have a need to have better oversight and coordination over those funds, how they're being spent, accountability for results, and some really making sure that we are doing our best efforts to reach those children and those families who need these early childhood dollars. So what the bill proposes to do is would establish an early education access fund at the Department of Administration with an appointed director. And this director would have really responsibility for overseeing the coordination that we are seeking. It would bring all of the MDE, the Department of Education funding streams that support early education under the responsibility of the director. So this would include state funding of Head Start, school readiness, scholarships, both Pathways 1 and 2, and the voluntary pre-K program, and would keep in place, though, their governing statutes. So we're not proposing to alter the parameters or the program requirements in the statutes, just bringing those programs under the authority and oversight of this director. We would hold the current funding levels harmless, but we would define a per-child investment limit across state and federal funding sources, establish overarching rules for fund investments, which would include quality, minimum child program duration, and outcomes measurement, establish a statewide network of parent resource hubs responsible for assuring support for parents, and require a plan for bringing the Child Care Assistance Program into the fund. And that would be a study first to look at the possibility of doing that. So with that, Madam Chair, I think I will have a testifier come forward to go through more of the specifics of the bill. I must say at the outset that I know some concerns have been raised by some folks in the early childhood arena, people I greatly respect, regarding the bill that was as originally proposed. I have had meetings, started meetings with them extensively, and the amendment that I'm offering today is in response to some of those concerns that are raised. This proposal will have several committee stops, and I would anticipate we may have additional tweaks to make as it moves forward, but I just wanted to assure members that those concerns are being heard, are being taken to heart, and I'm working diligently to try to address them.
Thank you, Representative Loon. With that, I believe Erica Moss from Close the Gaps by 5 would like to testify. Testifiers, keep in mind that we are timing your testimony because we do have to be adjourned or recessed by 9:45 today because we have session at 10, and we also have the policy bill to try to accomplish. So please keep that in mind and be very succinct. Welcome to our testifying table. Say your name for the record and begin.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. My name is Erica Moss. I'm the Executive Director of Close Gaps by 5, and I am here today to testify in support of this proposal and to thank Chair Loon for bringing it forward. As I do our work, we've worked in this area for over 10 years, seeking investment and reform of the way that early education investments are made. And as I proceed about that work, there's great support, great bipartisan support for legislators, and also legislators often ask questions that I feel ill-equipped to answer as an advocate for young children. And some of these questions are fairly basic. For example, what percentage of low-income 3- and 4-year-olds currently have publicly funded access to early childhood education? With increased investment, how many new children are served? These kinds of questions that I think are fundamental to making sound policy at the state level on a statewide basis for children and families all over the state. And it's a reflection of how the system has grown up. There are about 6 different funding streams that we use to make these investments. This bill doesn't seek to alter any of those funding streams or the way the funds are distributed across the state, but it does start to get our arms around all of those investments. It starts to orient policymakers and stakeholders to thinking about all of the investments together and how we coordinate them to get the best impacts for children and families. It starts to bring some unified data and accountability that will allow us to look across those programs and see what's working, where there are gaps, those kinds of things. These are all things we're very supportive of as people working in this policy arena. We continue to support new investment as well, but think that these kinds of measures for coordination and accountability are really important steps forward as this system matures. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Moss, and you'll stay around in case we have questions.
I will be
Thank
close
you.
by.
Ms. Keller from Think Small. And Jim Bartholomew from Business Partnership, please be on deck. Welcome to our committee. Say your name for the record and begin.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Hello, my name is Cisa Keller, and I'm the Senior Vice President of Early Childhood Quality Support and Development at Think Small. Think Small is a Minnesota early learning nonprofit organization working with child care professionals, families, policymakers, and community partners to transform the lives of thousands of Minnesota's young children, especially children from low-income families, through access to high-quality early learning opportunities guided by parental choice. I'm here today in support of House File 2259. Think Small's perspective is that this legislation's intent is to provide a framework through which the appointed director would have the authority and oversight to manage the multiple early learning funding streams as a portfolio, and thus be accountable for the outcomes of Minnesota's youngest learners. Think Small is in particular interested in the described director's work with the early learning community to devise solutions in supporting children of color and American Indian children, and determining what opportunities should be available to support these children to ensure that 100% of them enter school ready and on track to be successful. Think Small has been supporting families in early learning programs and stakeholders for over 40 years through a singular mission of ensuring that our youngest learners have the opportunities they need and deserve to be successful in school and thus life. We have always started a conversation, every conversation, with the question, what is in the best interest of children and families, and then we proceed. We believe that House File 2259 will provide the structure and the framework for Minnesota to not only ask the same question, but to potentially come up with the answer for it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Keller. And you'll stay around, too, in case there are questions. Mr. Bartholomew, please say your name for the record. Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. My name is Jim Bartholomew with the Minnesota Business Partnership, and thank you for the opportunity to speak in support of House File 2259. Through your leadership, the committee as a whole, there's been an increasing recognition that if we can help families find and gain access to effective early education providers, whether they're family-based, center-based, Head Start, or school-based providers, we can help more children be ready for kindergarten. That said, as important an issue as early education is becoming, we have a variety of programs and services for families that are spread across multiple agencies. Sometimes there's coordination between programs and agencies, and sometimes not. Having multiple programs and agencies not only makes it challenging for families to get information and qualify for services, but as you've heard from others, it also makes it difficult for you to determine which programs are working best for different families in different circumstances. House File 2259 creates a process and designates an individual who will be responsible for bringing greater coordination to the various programs and developing recommendations for you on how to continue best making improvements in subsequent years. While we encourage you to increase the number of families that can receive early education scholarships, it's also important to make sure our various programs are coordinated so they can effectively meet the needs of families. Thank you, and we'd ask for your support of House File 2259.
Thank you, Mr. Bartholomew. Now we have some with concerns. Ms. Kelly and Ms. Schwab. If you would come forward. Ms. Kelly first, and then on deck, Ms. Schwab. Welcome. Please say your name for the record and begin.
Thank you. My name is Gail Kelly, and I'm the Executive Director for the Minnesota Head Start Association. And the Head Start Association does oppose the bill in its current form. We understand the goal, and we are right there with you in terms of ensuring that Head Start early childhood programs are well positioned to help support the state's goals in closing the Minnesota achievement gap. We target the highest risk children who need comprehensive child and family development services, and we stay with those kids until they enter kindergarten. Almost all of them are ready for school. Each child we serve represents our success and a missed opportunity whenever that happens to meet that objective. And that's why we kind of take it real personally that the development of a broad-reaching and complex bill to reform the early childhood funding system happens without the communication and feedback of the stakeholders who do the work and the culturally diverse families who are most interested in seeing their children succeed. We really appreciate Representative Loon's efforts to meet with us yesterday, and we're reviewing the amendment. Our main concerns are we're very troubled by the aid limits, which might restrict enrollment from Head Start children who are enrolled also with child subsidies or early learning scholarships. We'd like an interpretation on whether MFIP childcare will count against their Head Start participation, and we also want to know what the impact will be on early Head Start childcare partnerships. We're also concerned that the funding caps have regional inequities. We really do appreciate the clarification that the Head Start statute will remain intact. But we fear that this intent of the Access Fund may be in the future to reduce program models which are based on empirical research and instead have a one-size-fits-all scholarship that will not meet the needs of individual children, especially those that we don't want to fail. So I've shared in the packet results, data. I always bring data about how we're doing. We have a lot of data in Head Start. And we're here to work with you on coordination and all other items that you want to do with this move. But we really want to work side by side as engaged stakeholders and families to get the best outcome. And my families remind me that nothing about us without us is for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. Ms. Schwab. Welcome to our committee. Please say your name for the record and your organization and begin.
Thank you. Madam Chair, members of the committee, my name is Karen Schaub. I'm the Community Education Director for Roseville Area Schools, and I'm here today representing the Minnesota Community Education Association. And at this point, we oppose House File 2259 as it is currently written. We acknowledge the need for information on the children we serve, and we are complying with all state data reporting requirements. MCA also acknowledges that there are some merits to the community hub model in some form. We have expressed our concerns to Representative Loon, and she has indicated a willingness to continue the discussion on this bill with us, and we are thankful for that. In school districts, early learning and care programs such as early childhood family education, preschool screening, school readiness, voluntary pre-K, early childhood special education, title programs, and English learners are coordinated through the district to better align programs to best serve the needs of our family and our youngest learners. In addition, school district facilitates the implementation of early learning scholarships and have articulate agreements with the local Head Start agencies. It is difficult to understand how transferring the authority and the oversight of some of these early education programs from the Department of Education to the Department of Administration will lead to better outcomes for our youngest learners and to serve more children. The implementation this bill implies is a heavy central administration component for families and infers that families would go through a state-administered application and qualification process for all the programs listed in the bill, and then to work with their local services to providers to receive the services. It is our experience that these families require a very hands-on, grassroots approach to navigate these systems. They trust us. They look to us to help them to complete the enrollment forms. Thus, school districts will need to hire additional staff to assist our families who are trying to access funds for the needed services they require. MCA believes that it may lead to fewer families getting the service that their youngest learners need. Thank you for your time today, and we look forward to continue to work on this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Schaub. And then we have the Department of Education with concerns, Mr. Uni, and Scott Kroonquist on deck, followed by Sam Walseth. And those are the folks I have signed up to testify. Welcome. Please say your name for the record and begin.
Madam Chair, members, good morning. My name is Ado Shuni. I am the Director of Government Relations at the Department of Education. I'd like to first thank the author for meeting with me yesterday to discuss some of the concerns from the department and also to hear a little bit about what the department is already doing in collaboration with DHS and MDH and other other agencies around early education. So I'd like to kind of focus on what we've been doing first of all, and then kind of discuss some of our concerns. So first of all, since 2011, the governor has directed the Department of Education, Health, Human Services, led by their commissioners, to engage in the Children's Cabinet, which has sought to coordinate services around early learning amongst all the divisions. So we're looking at comprehensively coordinating our services to families, children, and working with schools and providers. We're also looking at increasing our outreach to families and to children, and looking at comprehensively combining all of our data sources That has resulted in our state efforts as well as our efforts through Race to the Top grant with our early childhood longitudinal data system. That system is up and running and provides a range of information all the way from birth certificates to kindergarten outcomes where we are able to acquire those. As you know, the kindergarten outcome test isn't statewide, but the efforts that we've had ability to gather that information. So that's a central repository of information that shows the combined efforts across the state and across the divisions, and that is growing each and every year and telling us more and more. So on top of our efforts that we've done to improve our coordination amongst our different agencies with the efforts that we're engaged in to improve our delivery around early childhood education, we also have some concerns with the bill. Again, we're analyzing the bill, we're analyzing the amendment to see the impacts. The division or the agencies are discussing the matter with them, but first and foremost, I would say that looking at the funding for the voluntary pre-kindergarten program and putting that under this new program would be very much like moving a grade, like grade 3, out from under the department into another entity. We have come at this new program for pre-kindergarten as integrated with our delivery from early childhood up into the K through 12 context, looking at best practices around integrated curriculum and delivery of education for these students. We're also concerned about the impact of moving a few of the programs of early education into another area. This could kind of fragment the efforts that we're currently engaged in, where we're coordinating with DHS and MDH around our efforts. We are unsure about the impact that that'll have as it relates to how we've intertwined our efforts, our best practices, our collaboration with other agencies, as well as the delivery of services that our expert staff are able to give when the delivery of the services, the funding are all housed at the Department of Education, and we have established relationships with other agencies when they come into play. And then we are concerned about the impact that the bill has without the expert input from the department up until this point. There's a complex set of interactions that we have around the programs that we feel may be lacking from the bill in terms of how it's written and the impact that could come from there. We'd like to continue to look at the bill, talk with the author and the other co-authors about the impact of the bill and the potential consequences that could come from that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Oni. Then we have Scott Kronquist, AMSD. Welcome. Please say your name for the record and begin.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members. My name is Scott Kronquist with the Association of Metropolitan School Districts. And like the testifiers before, I do want to thank Representative Lewin for the good conversation we had yesterday and her willingness to continue to work with us as we move forward. We very much agree with the goals of better coordinating early learning programs to maximize access, accountability, and cost effectiveness. We also certainly agree with the need to improve the data collection system so we can better evaluate our early learning programs and improve all aspects of them. We do, however, believe further analysis and research would be warranted before embarking on a significant move to restructure the system as outlined in the bill. Just one example of where we think further questions or research is needed is this bill would consolidate some, but not all, early learning programs. Is that in the best interest of our families? And again, I'm not advocating for consolidating all early learning programs at this point, but that's just an example of a question that we think needs further research. And I'll just leave it with this, Madam Chair. In the medical profession, they live by the mantra of first do no harm, and we think that we'd be wise to follow that advice. We have some incredibly effective early learning programs in our school districts right now that are showing amazing results and progress, and we just want to make sure that we don't move to a new system that would cause damage to those programs. So with that, I'll stop, Madam Chair, and thank you for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Kronquist. Mr. Walseth, MREA, representing the rural school districts. Welcome. Please say your name for the record and begin.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members. Sam Walseth, Minnesota Rural Education Association. Appreciate Chair Loon meeting with our executive director yesterday and talking about some of these issues. Appreciate the amendment dealing with some of the aid cap related issues as well. Just generally, you've heard a lot of comments. I'd echo a lot of what my colleagues have said, Mr. Kronquist and others. But just generally, we think consolidating all of the authority and decision-making and resource power into one state director is the wrong direction. We think local communities should have the ability to design and implement early learning strategies that meet their needs. This kind of feels like a one-size-fits-all direction of where we're headed, and we think that's the wrong way to go. We think local communities should be able to have a lot more flexibility. We like the hub idea that's in the bill, but we think that should be the place where the authority and power rests, not with one state director. So, Madam Chair, members, I'll just leave it at that for now. We appreciate Chair Loon's willingness
Thank you,
to work.
Mr. Walseth.
Thank you.
Questions for the author? Representative Pryor.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
And if you have one for a testifier, just let me know.
Okay, we'll see if a testifier helps. I guess just, so when I was looking at this bill and trying to understand the bill, the first it was a red flag that we're talking about early childhood education and putting it in administration. In the Department of Administration. And interestingly enough, I was a management analyst in the Department of Administration, so I'm a good generalist, but the understanding all of this and putting it into a non-education or healthcare or just something totally unrelated just strikes me as odd, basically. And then I as a comment too is I am a care provider. I do that full time, and I'll be doing it again this summer. And I think I will have 5 children that I'll be taking care of at that point, an infant, and then 1.5, 2-year-old, up to 6, 7. So, and I know I'm a great care provider, and I'm entrusted with my grandchildren. So I know that. So I'm family-based, as a lot of people are. But I know that I don't do education. I provide care, and I provide good care, but I don't give, I am not an educator. And I know that what we're doing now in the pre-K in the schools is education, and I know that I can count on that if my children were doing it. And so as a care provider, in the summer I'll be doing full-time care, but all of my children moved into preschool programs because they got education. So I guess it's just this comment that, I would have to go to the experts, and that the people that are testifying about this are really the ones that to guide us and lead us about what the outcomes of and what the data is, and the one-size-fits-all I think is an issue, because every family makes their own choices, but every community has kind of like a base of where these things come from, and kind of rolling everything up into kind of the Department of Administration is, I don't think, child-centered and community-centered and local control. So I guess hearing the testifiers this morning and reading the bill, I do see lots of reservations in it.
Chair Loon.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Representative Pryor. First with regards to where the executive director would be located, I don't know if it's ideal, Department of Administration, but honestly, the approach is to try to find a neutral spot, if you will, because we've got programs funded through the Department of Education. We've got the quality rating system is operated out of the Department of Human Services, out of DHS. And that quality rating system is key to really all of our early childhood initiatives. The scholarship program, Pathway 1 and 2, every program has to be rated for quality in order to be eligible for our scholarship funds. And I recall as a new chair, and the discussion about some of the governor's initiatives on early childhood 2 years ago were coming forward, I decided to approach the chair of the Health and Human Services Committee about doing a joint meeting to talk about this. And it was astounding to me. It appeared that some of the people sitting at the testifiers table from MDE, and from DHS, and that, like, they hadn't met before. It was a little bit surprising to me, what appeared to be sort of a lack of coordination and communication about the interaction of these programs. And that's not even to get into the whole world of CCAP and other things that we do. So again, I don't know if Department administration is ideal, but we need someone with the authority to sort of be looking at these various streams of funding. As I said, $400 million a year, and making sure that we are reaching as many children at risk who need it as we can with the dollars we have. I don't know that we're contributing or putting enough money into early childhood, probably not. But at the same time, there are serious questions that as people with responsibility over, billions of taxpayer dollars in this state, questions that I ask cannot be answered. With the data and with the current system we have. We did a hearing on the governor's VPK program in Education Finance Committee, and I asked how many of the children in the VPK pilot, the 74 schools, were getting some kind of service through one of our other early childhood funded programs before coming into this. They can't tell me. They still can't tell me. How many children are coming into a program braiding several sources of funds, which they can do, and we encourage that. We don't really know that for sure, or to what level they're braiding, up to what extent. So we don't really know and can't really pinpoint what our investment is, even down to a per-child basis. And those are important questions to know as we're tracking how we can be most effective. I'm very sensitive, especially to the remarks from Ms. Kelly with Head Start. That program has generated really amazing results, and we had a meeting some weeks back to discuss it. I'm a big fan. They touch families and children in probably deepest poverty in Minnesota and have done some really amazing results. And so, the bill, and I think the amendment clarifies, we have no intention of changing their program requirements, how they operate in that, but if we want to ask questions about, well, what is the average investment that you are using and per child through the braiding of funds, maybe that's where the amount that's required in that level of intensity and the type of programming, and they obviously have to operate with the quality requirements from the parent aware rating, but they also have Head Start requirements from the federal level that layer on top of that. Maybe there are things that we can learn from them that is best practices that we should be incorporating into our only state-funded programs. So again, I think not with the intention to harm, but the intention to be able to ask serious, critical questions to understand, how do we do this better? How do we continue to reach families that need this, and are we making the best use of our resources?
Chair Loon, the Department of Human Services is here and would like to testify. So we're going to interrupt and hear from. Please come forward.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Jennifer Sommerfeld. I am the Legislative Director for Children and Family Services. I just have a few quick comments for you. The department has not had an opportunity to carefully analyze the bill, its impacts, how it affects everything, but we do want to continue working with the author and the Department of Education and the Department of Health because we all share the same outcome goal of good results for our children. We do want to be clear that we have been working through the Children's Cabinet with the Departments of Health and the Departments of Education, and we hope to continue doing so this session and beyond. And I just want to add one other thing, that we are convinced that any work in this area should be done with the inclusion of a wide range of stakeholders, because we'd like to be able to identify their needs, determine what needs aren't being met, understand how their children are developing, and ensure that we are meeting the needs of a very racially, socially, economically, and ethnically diverse community.
Thank you, Ms. Sommerfeld.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
your letting us know that you wanted to share your concerns.
Thank you for the
Thank
opportunity.
you. Members, do we have other questions? Representative Maquay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Luna, I like to think of myself as a yes and kind of person. I do love comedy, and that's why. And so I feel like this bill, and from the testifiers both in support and who are wary, I hear a yes and, because I agree with you. We should be able to answer some pretty basic and critical questions on how we are, what outcomes we're getting out of our youngest learners and how our money is being spent and how they're being supported. And I think I heard that from all of the folks who are nervous about the bill. My concern is that a lot of them said this key word that was yesterday, or I haven't had time to analyze yet. And so I would love that when we make big changes, especially to affect our youngest Minnesotans, that we do invite stakeholders around the table to really have their input, because, you know, I think so often we see that there are unintended consequences in a lot of our policies, and we get, you know, we have racial disparities in Minnesota, and I don't think any legislator came to this Capitol to say, I'm going to increase that. But I think what happens is we don't invite the folks we impact to the table to talk about our bills and how that might impact them, and then we end up where we're at. And so I worry with bills like this, when I have folks, you know, the experts, we got the rural educators, we got the metro educators, Department of Ed, DHS saying, you know, we yes to the goal, but we haven't been around the table to get us to that place that makes sure we're still doing the good work that we're doing. And so that's where my reservation is, though I am very supportive, and I said at the youth and family briefing that I thought this is really good, this is a good idea. I would just love to have seen more stakeholders around the table to make sure that we get a good bill out of this really good idea. So I just have a few questions that were brought up. The aid limits. Can you tell me what that cap is, and what is factored into what is considered aid?
Chair Loon, that's not a policy question, but if you want to answer, go ahead.
Sure. No, and I think that was probably one of the major concerns that was brought forward. And so just, you know, really quickly, the amendment that I did add would push out the effective date of the per-child funding cap to 2019. And the idea is to would give the new director that time to collect data on sort of what's being done in each of these programs and sort of the cost, if you will, or how much is being advocated per child, so we can look at that. The proposal in the original bill was 75% of market rate, and this is a survey that DHS does every other year. And so I think, I'm just going by memory here, correct me if I'm wrong. Actually, Ms. Moss probably knows it immediately. But for Hennepin and Ramsey County, I want to say that's about just under $14,000 a year. Yeah, $13,884 a year.
Representative May-Quade.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for answering that. I know it was a policy question, just a question I had. And then can you speak to Mr. Uni's comment about pre-K being moved out and kind of that being similar to third grade being moved out?
Chair Loon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And yes, Mr. Uni and I had a chance to discuss that yesterday, and that's something that I am thinking over. I think, but we'll need to, I guess the question I would have is that if schools are braiding the VPK money with school readiness and other things, again, these are considerations. I can tell you roughly how much per child through that, because it's funded on a per pupil formula, which is different than school readiness, different how we fund other things. But if those are being braided, again, those are questions, again, that I think we need research and data on to know. So if it's not just that per pupil funding in the VPK program, if it's being augmented by other streams of funding that we provide, then what are we spending per child? Because I can go through every school district in every school in Minnesota and get a run that will tell you exactly what the expenditure is on a per pupil basis, and I can't do that with any early childhood programs we have.
Representative May-Quade.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for answering those questions. And I think the comments that I heard from folks, they were thanking you for meeting, and so I think just continue doing that. You've clearly been someone who's been willing to bring folks around the table, and just I would really encourage you to do that. Because I don't want this to have those unintended, and I don't think you do either. And so I think just really encourage you to bring those stakeholders around to get to a place where we're getting the yes and. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Haley, last question.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. I'd like to speak in support of the bill and make a couple points. I think the intent is, in fact, to bring the stakeholders together And even in looking at the amendment, when it talks about integrating the data collection systems and the programs that are currently in the Department of Education, the Department of Human Services, and the Department of Health, it's because we have all these various agencies that are impacting early learning that we need to have an overarching body to take a look at it so that we can improve. We did this in our community about 5 years ago, and we had great success. And what I heard from providers, whether it was Head Start people that were housed in the same building as our community ed early childhood, but were doing different things and not aligning towards the same goals and didn't even know what each other, were doing, and our private pre-K providers and our school pre-K. It took us 5 years to pull all those stakeholders together around common goals and common outcomes and common training to align towards the goal of all kindergartners being ready. And what we just achieved last year, and this is just fascinating, and I think you would appreciate it, is that we actually not only closed the achievement gap, but our students of color are outperforming our white students in being pre-K ready. So I've seen the impact of bringing everybody around the table. And if what I see this bill doing is taking my local experience to the state and trying to do that very, with really good intent. I think we have to be bold with some of these things. We have a lot of resources and we have a lot of need. And the way that we're going to get more impact is doing things like this so that all the stakeholders are around the table. And I have great confidence that this will produce good outcomes.
Representative Loon, closing comments.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. I really appreciate the thoughtful discussion on this, and I just want to assure all of you and those listening that I will continue meeting with stakeholders. We will continue working through the details of this proposal. For those who are concerned, I think the prospect of change is hard and maybe a little bit scary. But I want to assure those with those concerns that the intent of this is not to pull back on what you are doing, to change exactly what you're doing, but to have a more thoughtful understanding of what you're doing, how you're doing it, and to make sure through the hub specifically that we are getting information on all of the resources available to parents and families in need out to your community in a more intentional and efficient way. I think we have the ability through the example Representative Haley mentioned to really make a difference for families in all of our communities. And we are putting a lot of resources out there, but it's not necessarily in the most coordinated way. And so I think we could do it better, and that is only the pure intent of this legislation. So with that, I would ask for your support as we continue to work through this idea. And I also just want to thank I have bipartisan authors on the bill who are being very engaged in this discussion as well. And so I just wanted to leave you with that assurance as well.
Thank you, Chair Loon. With that, the chair renews the motion that House File 2259 as amended be re-referred to the Committee on Education Finance. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The motion prevails and the bill is moved. Thank you, Representative Loon. And thank you to all who came to hear this conversation that we're beginning on this proposal that Representative Loon has brought forward. Members, now we'll move to the policy bill. The chair moves House File 1376 to be before us, to be amended and finalized as our policy bill. So members, I move 1376 to be re-referred to the Committee on Education Finance, and that's before us. And with that, I move the DE1 amendment, the delete all amendment, the H1376 DE1 amendment, so that the bill is in the shape it should be. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The motion prevails, and now we have 1376 in the order it should be. Members, the first amendment to this file then will be the author's amendment, the H1376A8. And members, I'm just going to give you more or less a high level of what's in this, and if you have questions, please feel free to ask them. This makes students in non-public schools eligible for bilingual and multilingual seals. That's something we had missed in the other amendment. It corrects references to physical education standards to be adopted for a National Association of Sport and Physical Education to the Society of Health and Physical Educators, whose acronym is SHAPE. It makes corrections to data disaggregation from the 2016 legislation and delays the implementation. We had some issues. I know many in the audience have notified me. Superintendents have been very concerned about collecting this data, and so that's an important policy change. It clarifies training on cultural competency to be made available to special education teachers serving on IEP teams. Members, this was in regard to Representative Thiessen's proposal, and we're going to continue to work on this. We need to do some further refining, but as of today, we're going to keep in place the changes that are in this A8 amendment. And finally, it clarifies that the cap on QComp funding also applies to the St. Croix River Education District. That was something that we had missed. Is there discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of adoption of the A8 amendment, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The motion prevails, and the A8 amendment is adopted. Representative Christensen offers the A2 amendment. Please explain your amendment, Representative Christensen.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. This amendment, the A2 amendment, is a copy of Representative Hamilton's House File 1714 dealing with concussions. It's a bipartisan bill, and it has to move through a bunch of committees, so I'm offering it as an amendment to this omnibus bill so that we can have a discussion surrounding it in this committee, and then I'm planning on withdrawing the amendment.
Is there any discussion? We have to follow this process, members, so that we have covered all of our bases. Representative Pryor, thank you.
Great amendment. Thank you very much.
Representative Christensen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll withdraw the A2 amendment.
Representative Christensen withdraws the A2 amendment. Representative May Quaid offers the A3 amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Oh, I moved it over here. This amendment essentially just clarifies for e-learning days that it would be specific to a child's IEP for the accommodations that can be offered.
Members, is there any discussion? With that, I recommend a yes vote. All those in favor, please say yes. Yes. Those opposed, no. The amendment is adopted. We're rolling right along here. Representative Bly offers the A4 amendment. Representative Bly, please explain your amendment.
This also relates to the e-learning plan, and I guess it gives some leeway to the district so that if they haven't reached the number of snow days that would bring the district below the number of instructional hours required, that they can choose not to have an e-learning day.
Representative Bly, I think there are still some concerns about the wording of this amendment, so I'm going to recommend a no vote. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. No. The motion does not prevail and is not adopted. Representative Bly offers the A5 amendment.
Before I do, Madam Chair, would you be willing to work with me on the amendment?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, of course. We'll work with the school districts, too, since they are the ones who have the concern. Thank you.
Thank you.
Representative Bly offers the A5 amendment.
Yeah, and this adds that the school board and exclusive representative of the teachers for that school must agree to the district's e-learning day plan.
Thank you, Representative Bly. Members, as you know, the original bill did have the agree, and then Representative Drazkowski reported to us that that is not what he intended. So we did change it to consult and found that most of the stakeholders were very agreeable to that, more agreeable than to the original. So Representative Bly, I'm going to have to recommend a no vote. But we'll continue to work on these issues as well as this bill moves forward. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of this A5 amendment, please say aye.
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 Those opposed, no. No. The motion does not prevail, and the amendment is not adopted. Representative May Quaid offers the A11 amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This just adds back in the language that provides that online learning providers cannot discriminate against any group protected by our human rights statute.
Is there any discussion? The chair recommends a yes vote on this. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The motion prevails, and the amendment is adopted. And Representative Pryor offers the A13 amendment.
My understanding is that now this is taken care of. and-
Representative
and the
Pryor
authors-
withdraws her amendment because it is now included in the author's amendment. Members, discussion. We have the policy bill in the order now that we would like it as it proceeds to Education Finance. Representative May Quaid.
Madam Chair, I just wanted to thank you for putting together such a great bill of meat and potatoes that really gets to the issues we talked about this year, for walking us through it and for doing it in a really timely manner.
Thank you. Are there other comments? Boy, members, we're really rolling along here. We're going to have a break. We're not going to have to run to the House floor. Well, members, this is a proposal that I hope we can proceed forth in education finance and with the Senate as we try to set the stage for our students, our teachers, our school boards, and our parents to have a year in which they can take a breath and refine that which we have asked them to do in previous years. And I'm sure in finance, we're going to refine, as Representative Bly asked, we could work on some issues. We're going to continue to do that. And so if you don't serve on education finance, please provide your ideas to me or to Chair Loon or to someone who does serve on the committee. Because I know many of you sitting at this table do not. So you need a conduit, so please feel free to do that. And members, with that said, the chair renews her motion that House File 1376 as amended be re-referred to the Committee on Education Finance. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The motion prevails, and House File 1376 as amended is on its way to Education Finance. Members, we're in limbo now, but we will meet next Thursday to hear the report from the OLA on standardized testing. So we will meet at 8:15 that day. We will have with us some guests in addition to the OLA auditors. One of those will be Ms. Dugan from the department. She's an expert in testing, and she will give us, I think, a framework for us to think about as we proceed forward, as we look toward the changes coming from ESSA, but also the changes that you may have seen that the department was recommending in the policy bill, so we can have a thorough discussion of those. So I look forward to next Thursday in that report and seeing all of you again. Thank you very much for your participation and making this committee so enjoyable. With that, this meeting is adjourned.